What's going on, subs? Happy New Year. I'm really excited to be able to share with you this morning's deck tech on Varina, the Lich Queen. This is arguably the best zombie tribal commander in Magic the Gathering. She is one generic, one white, one blue, and one black for a legendary creature, a zombie wizard that reads, when you attack with one or more zombies, draw that many cards, then discard that many cards, you gain that much life. She also has an activated ability that's you pay 2 generic and exile 2 cards from your graveyard to create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. So the idea revolving around Varina is you want a lot of zombies on the battlefield. You want them to swing, and you don't care if they die because you can use them to just create more zombies. The perfect zombie commander. And the way that I have built Varina Lich Queen is I'm revolving it around this discard effect. I'm going to have lots of different synergies that revolve around getting my creatures in the graveyard so that I can drop bombs like Zombie Apocalypse or Patriarch's Binding. And there's also a couple of different sneaky ways of winning with combat tricks as well. So let's go ahead and talk about what artifacts are in the deck. The first artifact up is Alhammarit's Archive. This is perfect for Varina that says if you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. And if you would draw a card, except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. So that really helps with Varina. If you have 2 zombies on the battlefield and Varina, and you swing with those 2 zombies, you're not just drawing 2 cards, you're drawing 4 cards. And because of Varina's ability, you're going to be only discarding 2. So you're going to be netting 2 cards, which is amazing. Some of the other artifacts are Arcane Signet, Commander Sphere, Dimir Signet, Orzhov Signet, Talisman of Dominance, and Wayfarer's Babel. Now let's move on to the enchantments. Up first for the enchantments, we have Dreadhorde Invasion. It's just a really great way of every single turn creating a zombie army and then swinging with that zombie army. The next is Endless Ranks of the Dead. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, create X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens where X is half the number of zombies you control rounded down. If I have 13 zombies, it's rounded down, so I'm going to be creating 6 more 2/2 zombies. The next is Faith of the Devoted. If my commander is on the battlefield, if I swing with 5 zombies, I can pay 5 mana, and each opponent will lose 10 life, and I will gain 10 life. The next is Feast of Sanity. This is definitely won me games. It says whenever you discard a card, Feast of Sanity deals 1 damage to any target, and you gain 1 life. Pretty similar to Faith of the Devoted, except Feast of Sanity can target creatures. The next card is Grave Pact. This is really good to be able to kind of control the board. I'm swinging with zombies and they don't want my zombies to die. And so they're most likely not going to block if they have some creatures that they don't want to have to sacrifice. The next 2 cards I have, I'm going to put them both here because they have similar effects. The first is Kindred Discovery and the second is Teferi's Ageless Insight. Kindred Discovery is a little bit better because whenever the chosen creature type, in this case zombie, enters the battlefield, I will draw a card. And whenever I swing with a creature of that chosen type, I will also draw a card. And Teferi's Ageless Insight reads, if you would draw a card except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 additional cards. So this way, it will help me with Varina's ability to draw additional cards and discard less cards. So I can put the cards that I want in the graveyard, and I can also keep the best cards for myself in my hand. Monastery Siege is really great for discarding cards, drawing an extra card and then putting it right into the graveyard. You want to have your graveyard filled with zombies so that you can pop off with the Zombie Apocalypse or Patriarch's Binding. And this is a great way of doing it, also seeing more cards. Necro Duality, I had to add this one in there. It's perfect for zombie tribal. Just creating a duplicate copy of one of my zombies is really perfect. Reconnaissance. If I just want to have the Varina trigger and not do combat damage, I can use reconnaissance to be able to remove my zombies from combat even after they do combat damage to my opponent or creatures my opponents control. It's a great card, definitely helps me win games. Rooftop Storm. I added this card because it goes really well with Zombie Tribal. It also involves in a 4-part infinite combo. It's a great card to be able to have. The next card is Zombie Infestation. This is my pet card in the deck. It's instant speed, discard 2 cards and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And the last enchantment in this list is Knowledge is Power. Knowledge is Power reads, creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of cards you've drawn this turn. If you swing with 5 zombies without any addition besides your commander out, you are going to pump your team by 5. If you have any other card out, Kindred Discovery, Teferi's Ageless Insight, you're going to be pumping your team by 10. So this is a broken card. This definitely screams remove on sight. Very quickly going over the instant and sorceries, I have Go for the Throat, Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, and then Rise of the Dreadmarn. I've always kept this card in this deck. Haven't used it quite yet, but I'm waiting for the day where somebody board wipes when I have Rise of the Dreadmarn foretelled, and then I cast it for a black, and then I create more zombies. Waiting for that day. And then sorceries, I have Cleansing Nova, Fumigate, I have Zombie Apocalypse, Patriarch's Binding, Feed the Swarm, and then several graveyard recursion cards. Dread Return, Persist, and Stitch Together. Now let's take a look at those creatures. Reading them very quickly, there are 34 creatures in this deck. Archfiend of Ifnir, great with removing other people's cards. Basically kind of like a pseudo board wipe. Whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. Really good way of clearing the board for killing my opponents. Binding Mummy, another way of tapping my opponent's creatures. Blade Stitch Scab, pumping the creatures. Bone Miser is going to be one of the best zombie cards in the deck. It synergizes very well with Varina, giving me tons of value, creating me 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, drawing me cards, and gaining me 2 black mana whenever I discard a land. Carrion Feeder is part of the infinite combo, and we're going to see the other creature card in a second. Cemetery Reaper pumps my team, as well as paying 2 generic and a black and tapping, exiling target creature card from a graveyard to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, which we're hardly ever going to do. Champion of the Parish. It's a 1-drop zombie that grows bigger and bigger by the amount of zombies that enter the battlefield. Corpse Knight, also part of the infinite combo. There's a couple of different little pingers for zombies. When another creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. Crypt Breaker, great zombie, 1-drop to have. You pay a generic and a black and tap to discard a card and put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. And then I tap 3 untapped zombies you control. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. Then you have Death Baron, giving all of my zombies +1/+1 and Death Touch. Diregraph Captain, another Anthem effect. This also has Death Touch and says whenever another zombie you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life. Could be another card to use in the infinite combo. Diregraph Colossus. When it enters the battlefield, it enters with a 1/1 counter on it for each zombie card in your graveyard. Could get potentially huge, but the second part is even better. Whenever you cast a zombie spell, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. Fleshbag Marauder, grave removal spell. Gleaming Overseer. The only thing that I care about this card is that it amasses 1. God Eternal Oketra, giving me a 4/4 black zombie warrior creature token with vigilance whenever I cast a creature spell. And whenever it dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, I can put it into its owner's library 3rd from the top. Grave Titan, not a zombie, it is a giant, but it does create me 2/2 black zombie creature tokens whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks. Graveborn Muse, this is a double-edged sword because at the beginning of my upkeep, if I have 13 zombies on the battlefield, I'll draw 13 cards and lose 13 life. So better be careful with Graveborn Muse, but it is really helpful in a pinch when you need to find your combo pieces or cards to help you end the game. I have also milled myself out with this card and killed myself, so watch out. Gravecrawler, the combo piece card in the deck. Gravecrawler can't block, but I can cast Gravecrawler from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. Grain, Merchant of Asphodel, great way of draining my opponents as well as gaining me life. Headless Rider, whenever Headless Rider or another non-token zombie you control dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Horde Wing Scab, giving my creatures flying. Lord of the Accursed, another pump spell, and it gives all my zombies menace by paying a generic and a black. Loyal Subordinate is a lieutenant card. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, each opponent loses 3 life. Great way of getting my opponents down. Master of Death, this is a great card to just swing in, deal some damage, maybe die. If it dies, I can pay 1 at the beginning of my upkeep and return it to my hand. But when it enters the battlefield, I can surveil 2. So I can look for lands, I can look for combo pieces, I can put cards into my graveyard as well. Machias, the Unhallowed, it's got Intimidate, and whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. So very specific, but the second part is better. Other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Undying. So whenever any of my creatures die that does not have a 1/1 counter on it, it just returns back to the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. Noxious Ghoul, another really great card to be able to remove opponents' creatures. Phyrexian Delver, this is a Phyrexian zombie. It says when it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You lose life equal to that card's mana value. This is just another graveyard recursion, but specifically a zombie. Shepherd of Rot, I'm looking for the day where I kill people with Shepherd of Rot. Solemn Simulacrum, not a zombie, but definitely helpful in ramping and fixing my colors, as well as when it dies, it draws me a card. The Scarab God, not a zombie, but I needed to add it in my zombie tribal deck. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses X life, and you scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. Very, very helpful. And the second part is a reanimate card as well for ETB triggers. When Scarab God dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Undead Augur, great for card draw. Vengeful Dead can be also used in the combo piece. Wayward Servant can also be used in the combo piece. And Wonder. Wonder is a great way for being able to put this in the graveyard, giving all of my zombies flying over my opponents, and winning the game. Now, here are just a list of the lands that I have in this deck. I'm not going to go over each and every one of them, but they're going to be on the screen so that you can be able to see what types and kinds of lands I do have in this deck. Thank you guys so much for watching my deck tech on Varina, the Lich Queen. I hope that this deck tech inspires you to go out and create yourself your very own zombie tribal deck. And I hope that you guys have a great year. See y'all later.